Terry, for that kind introduction. I've backed a few of those horses. Every time I put my money on one, it goes slow or falls over. Told the local member was talking about the smell in Rotorua. I did notice it. It's my first time here. Not as smelly as the revelations that the All Blacks have been cheating by sleeping tablets. Imagine if they hadn't been taking uppers, it would be all over for everybody. But it is a pleasure to be here, and I'm a regular visitor to your conference. I love coming over and seeing Tom. Pango, you must be very proud. It's a great town, and your club, I haven't been in it yet. I only got in late last night, but walked past. It's what a club should be, right in the middle of the town, and there for everybody to see. I'm looking forward to today. You've got a great lineup of speakers. You've got a couple of Australians on the lineup today. Steve Parker. Well, he's a Kiwi, but he's lived in Australia for a while. He swears a lot, and I apologise in advance if he's dropping F-bombs all through his talk. And Carissa, who works with me, she's going to talk to you about communications and other things, and she's really good at that stuff. So have a great day. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about electioneering. Larry asked me to talk about that. You've already had it this morning, haven't you? I mean, we're really sick of elections. I am. In Australia, we have state and federal. They come around a lot, and they're quite annoying because you see all the ads and you start talking about issues that haven't been on the agenda. But they are important. I'll go through why they are important, why you need to be engaged. If they start talking about issues like, flags and stuff, that's a really nice flag, that. It's really nice. And I was actually driving from Sydney to a town called Mollymook on the south coast of New South Wales, and I was listening to the ABC, and there was John Key talking about flagging, and he's talking about how you might want a different one, and that's a nice one there too. It's got the fern. He was talking about the silver fern, I think, as a possible alternative. Who likes the current flag? Yeah. Who wants to see a change? I bet it's about 50-50. Yeah, same Australia. There's something like that. There's a really nice little bit of Maori sort of motif in the flag. You've still got the Southern Cross there, but there's a strong case, I think, for blue and green should never be seen, they say, without something in between, but I think that goes okay. Look, enough of that kind of stuff. I'll talk about flags, and I'll talk about lots and lots of different issues. And I'm going to drill down a little bit into what those issues will be, how they relate to you, what you should be doing, how you should be responding as an industry. I know Tom, certainly, and Larry spend a lot of time trying to mobilise you guys and your clubs, because as the local member said, you have 300,000 members. That's a lot of voters. At about 300 clubs, we need to be better at getting that group of people to support us. Now, obviously elections decide who's going to govern. And for 75% of the population, that is a big yawn. It's a big yawn. They don't know who their local member is. They don't know what electorate they're in. They don't know when voting day is. They don't know when to vote. It's really not something that excites people. They don't understand the general population how important this event is, because governments decide the social and economic agenda. Fundamentally, they're the people who steer the country. They have a lot of power. They make laws, even though they've got to navigate Parliament. Governments usually get their way. They're very good at that. They're in a very powerful position. They can negotiate. Even in minority governments, the party that is in control has enormous influence over what happens. Governments are powerful. They set tax rates. They tell you whether you can turn left or right at a certain road. They dictate the rules that we live by day to day, how much we get paid in many instances. And as far as our industry is concerned, they tell us what hours we can open, what are the gambling restrictions. I'll get to some of those things. The things that really impinge upon our profitability and on our ability to provide our members with the service that we want to give them. We are vulnerable as an industry. We sell beer and alcohol. We deliver gambling services. There's smoking in and around our venues. These are things that are contentious. They're not election deciding issues, but they're contentious. They always have been. The temperance movement in Australia fired up in the early 1900s, and it's been going strong ever since. Sometimes they have wins and sometimes they lose. There was a prohibition in the United States for about a decade. These things rise and fall, and it's just so easy for governments to lurch into bad policy, and sometimes we're in the middle of that. So we are vulnerable. This is why we have to be active. Literally, a stroke of a pen can take away your right to deliver gambling or sell beer or allow you to open past 10 o'clock. We've seen that happen, haven't we? It happens quite regularly. So elections are the time when politicians and potential governments start to sharpen their focus about what they're going to do in the next term. And it's a time when we must strike. And back home, across the ditch there, we've been doing this now, well, only for about 5 or 6 years. It takes organisation and commitment, and it takes some smarts. You've got to plan for that electoral cycle. We now link our business planning as an association into the state electoral cycle, which is 4 years, because that period, the year leading up to the election, is just so important. It's when we try and get most of our work done. If we can get our work done properly before the election and the right team wins, then we have very little to do afterwards. That's the plan. Let's have a look at what drives politicians. Now, I'll be optimistic and say public service and looking after the community. A couple of snickers out there. And I think that does drive most politicians. I know we are very, very cynical. We have surveys in Australia all the time about people's views of different professions. Doctors are always up near the top. And then you have, I don't know, club managers, let's say, somewhere in the middle. And then a little bit further down, you'll have used car salesmen. I used to be one of those. The white shoe brigade. And then below that, you've got politicians. We don't trust them. And that's an unfair, I think, view to have of the majority of politicians. And it only takes 1 or 2 bad ones to give everybody a bad name. That's true in our industry as well. I think generally they are there to work for the community. Look, they're not paid great sums of money. I know it might seem like a lot, but it's not really much for what. There's not many jobs that are truly 24/7. Those jobs are. And they work hard and they're under pressure. They do get to willpower if they get high enough up the ladder. There's a bit of a balance there. But right now, all they're thinking about. So I'm in New Zealand. I just saw The Hobbit. The Ring of Power and Sauron. Anyone familiar with those movies? Of course you are. And his will is bent on that ring. It's got to come back to him. Well, this is what election time is for politicians. It's about getting re-elected. Everything they do is through that frame. Now, that doesn't mean that what they're doing is bad, but they need to get enough votes to get back into Parliament. They are committed to doing it. So they're trying to reduce risk. They're trying to keep people happy. They're very targeted and strategic about it. They actually sometimes want to pick fights with people so that they can position themselves in a certain way with the people they want to impress. So they're complicated beasts. But right now, they're working on that strategy to be re-elected. And they're doing it locally. There are some people, like the minister that we've heard from, that have a national view, but mostly it's a local view, because you can't be a minister without being an MP. So you need to keep your local constituents happy. And one of your key local constituents, of course, is the club and its members. So don't undersell yourself in that local ecosystem at election time. You are important there. And what are the election deciding issues this year? Do these resonate with you? I actually got these out of the New Zealand Herald, which is probably well there. Leadership's a given at election time. Don't worry about that. They'll fight that out on TV and on radio. But have a look at the main issues that people are talking about at election time. Inequality, really about the distribution of income. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. How do we address that? How do we address it? The cost of housing, affordability in Sydney where I live, it's a massive issue. People, I don't think, can afford to buy a house anymore. My children that are 11 and 8 I don't think we'll be able to afford to buy a house in Sydney. Affordability of housing, a huge issue. The price of electricity, cost of living, hip pocket. I'll talk about the hip pocket move in a minute, another big issue. Maori in the state, which is an issue peculiar to New Zealand. We do have a parallel in Australia with Indigenous issues around race relations as well. So those things are fairly constant. But always people vote according to what affects them immediately and directly, usually through their wallet. The hip pocket nerve. The hip pocket nerve means that if a government taxes you more or does something to make your cost of living increase, that diminishes your wealth and well-being, you will respond. And if you blame them, you will take it out on them. The hip pocket nerve rules. I know the other issues, race relations and broader societal issues are important, but they're the key ones. They're the key ones. Your quality of life, as you see it from day to day. We're pretty simple creatures, humans. We wake up, if we get out on the wrong side of bed, we're cranky. If things are happy, we bowl along, the world is rosy. But as soon as someone starts putting their hand in our pocket, I start to get a little bit antsy about that. And the economy drives a lot of that. The economy drives a lot of that. These are the election issues, okay? Big picture, what are our issues? You know them, regulation of the sale of liquor, gambling restrictions, employment relations, profitability of our places. You had a look at the annual report, Gus, and your column, and you talked about the operation of monopoly businesses and how they affect us. Inconsistent regulation and red tape. Who cares? When you go to the polls on election day, are you going to vote on any of those issues? You're not. You're not. You might if you're angry enough, but generally speaking, you're going to be thinking about you, your family, and your town, and your country. You're not going to be talking about that. And I know you're not. Because we've done stacks of research, and I bet you it's the same here. When people go to the polls, they don't think about gambling, liquor, club-related issues. We've done lots of work about this. They're rated in the 30s or 40s on issues of importance. Guess what? Tax, employment, healthcare, education, all of those issues that you hear Key and Cunliffe talk about, they're the ones that push buttons with voters. Ours are not on the agenda. They're not on the agenda. This bloke here, anyone heard of Nick Xenophon? Over in Australia, he's the No Pokies MP. He was elected as a senator in South Australia on that No Pokies ticket about 10 years ago. Then he started in South Australia and moved into the Senate. Now, he calls himself the No Pokies MP because that's his platform, that's his soapbox. He's moved completely away from that because he knows people don't care about those issues come election time. He's now called the X team. Can you see his posters there? Oh, hang on. Let's go forward. He's now the X team, you know. People, power. Nick Xenophon. Any word about poker machines there? No. No, they've worked it out. It's all about the other issues. You'll hear Nick Xenophon talk about the Murray River in South Australia and other things. But they use our issues as a platform. We've had people like Andrew Wilkie and Stephen Fielding and others. These are single issue people who use our issues, alcohol abuse, gaming, problem gambling, as a way to get a microphone. And then they go off on their merry way once they're established in Parliament. So don't overread that. And on the positive side, you're never going to get an MP being the pro-pokies MP. Never seen one of them. You know, marching down the main street of town with their mates saying, woo, we really like that. Or the pro-beer team. You don't see it, do you? You don't see it. So let's not overplay our hand. Our job is to try and connect to those high-level issues. Of course, we worry about those other things, and we concentrate on them, and we bash pollers when they do the wrong thing by us. And we must do that. They need to know that there is a sting. If they're going to work against our industry, well then I'm sorry, we're very proud of our industry, we love it. We're not going to stand idly by while that happens. We are going to respond. That's in the short term. In the long term, we need to build that bridge between our life and them. How do we connect to those higher level issues? How does How do gambling restrictions affect the government and the people around us? You know that, don't you? You know how it does, because we use that. First of all, it's a legitimate pastime done responsibly. People actually enjoy it as part of their life. And what do we do with that money? We build great clubs, like the one here. We employ people. Really important. People don't have a job. They start worrying. They want to know which party is going to get them a job. They start worrying about those issues. So employment, community support. There's lots of non-government organisations and not-for-profits who need money to survive. We support them. If they can't do their work, then well-being and health in local communities suffers. We have an important role in that. So we need to start to educate. We need to educate MPs and governments about what we do. So the 2014 election, forget it, okay? Go and speak to your MP. Tell him that you're a club, you're concerned about your club. These are the issues that worry us, and ask him or her to look after you. And you will provide support to them, obviously, in return. But start thinking about the next election. Start thinking about the next election. You need time to do this. So the next intake, you need to be working very hard and very early. As I've set up there on the screen, you need to systematically engage these people. You know where they are. Where's Todd's office? Hang on. Has he got an office in town here? Yeah, you know where it is. You know where it is. Go talk to him. He'll speak to you. You know he will. Start to educate. And even though an MP might be on side and know you, keep educating. Things change. Your issues change. They forget. Todd's worried about revenue and tourism, big issues. He's in the beehive talking to the Prime Minister. He's not really thinking about club issues too often. You've always got to bring them back to the centre, to your world. So every time you see him, every time you go and visit him, every time you see your MP, you talk about the issues that are affecting you, and you connect it to the broader issues that they might be thinking about, that resonate more broadly. They are community support, employment, local wellbeing, sense of community and connectedness. These really important things that clubs enable. We do a great job of that. No one else is doing it. Who else is doing it? The Salvation Army in Australia and here and everywhere. What a fantastic organisation. They call clubs the modern town square. People are going to church less. They're staying home more. This is really unhealthy. Really unhealthy. Clubs are one of the few places where people come together. Look, you're all happy. You all enjoy each other's company. Sometimes at AGM time when, is anyone running against Tom this year? Should be nice and easy this year. But, sometimes we get cranky with each other. But ultimately we like each other. And we like speaking to each other. And we socialise. And that's healthy. And that's good. And these are things that don't just happen. We have to work at it. And the clubs are at the epicentre of this locally. These are the messages that we need to keep transporting out and being proud about and talking about. Larry will produce the stuff, the bits of paper, but only you know really about life in Rotorua. Larry doesn't really know about that. You know the people, the networks, you're key to this. You need to be an advocate for the club industry in your own little patch, and you can all be that. Don't expect your members to do that. They're just coming in and having a beer and a nice meal and a chat to their relatives. You're the people with a stake in this, skin in the game, as they say. So protect your clubs and be advocates for them. Make the MPs understand, and potential MPs as well, how you connect to those headline issues. Make sure they come to your club. It shouldn't be such a big ask. They're great places. Get them there to present checks and press the flesh. I always love that. It's their bread and butter. It's how they get to see their constituents, the whites of their eyes. This is important stuff. It's one of those honeypots for MPs. But invite them. Don't be cynical about it. Don't be, here they come again. No. Welcome them in. Get them in. Talk to them. Get them to meet your members. This is the strength. This is a set of assets that hardly any other industry has. It's quite unique. We need to leverage that as much as possible. Send the MP a newsletter. If they're not a member of your club, make them a member, a patron. That's what you want. You want them to be close to your club. These are really simple things to do. You may already be doing it. If you're doing it and the club down the road's not, speak to them about that. We want them in as many of our clubs as possible. Share the positive stories. I know Carissa's going to talk about this. You can't say nothing, because if you're not talking positively about yourself, who is? Who's going to do that on your behalf? You have to blow your own trumpet. Stop being so modest about it. I say this to clubs all over Australia and New Zealand. Some of our biggest clubs, these are clubs with revenues of $120 million a year. Big joints. You've been to some of them probably. I say, why don't you tell people about what you're doing? Oh, we just do it, you know. We laugh. Woolworths, who operate, what are Woolworths over here? They're a different name. The big supermarket chain. Huge. Them and Coles just about run the show in Australia. And they give away $1 million a year about. They're making billions of dollars a year. They give away $1 million a year. And then they spend $20 million advertising the $1 million that they gave away. Money to cricket clubs. Little Johnny's got some pads, isn't that fantastic? Woolies are great. Yeah, right. Sure. Right, I'm cynical about that, because they're spending $20 million promoting $1 million. In New South Wales, clubs directly have a scheme called Club Grants. They give away $110 million a year to community and sporting groups. And do you know how much they spend promoting that? Nothing. So that's the flip side. That's the flip side. Now obviously that's a scale that isn't going to apply here. But the principle is important, that whatever you do, you need to talk about. You need to blow your own trumpet, you need to tell your MP what you're doing and how their action and how the government's actions impinges upon what you're doing. You can't support those groups without support from the government. You can't employ people without reasonable trading conditions. And politicians and governments don't really know business. They don't work in it. Some have, but government is a very different caper. It's not about making money. It's not about employing people. It's different. So you've got to educate them on those things. Tell your story. Tell it proudly and be loud about it. Check presentations, you get all of that. Create those positive associations. And over time, I'm talking years here, and I'll be back next year, Larry, I'm inviting myself, and I'll be talking about the same issue. And I'll talk about it last year, and I'll do it every year that I'm around, because it's just so important. You've got to develop these relationships. It's no different to your own businesses and your own lives. Who do you deal with every day? People that you trust. People that you know. If someone comes around and knocks on your door and says, hey, have I got a deal for you? What do? You say, thank you very much. You kick their foot out and you say, go away. That's what I do. You need to build a relationship with them. And again, that means talking. It means communication. It means sharing stories. That's what you must do. Look at this as another key relationship in your club. If I'm a club director, I'm around the board table, I want to know what's happening between me and the local member. That might be only twice a year, but still, I've got to know that. I've got to know that. That good little bank account that we talk about. Now, I love this photo. I'm nearly done here, guys. This is my favourite photo in my 13 years at Clubs Australia and Clubs New South Wales. I just think it's a beautiful shot. And you can see what's happening there. Right? This is a club demonstration that we had in a little country town called Braidwood about 3 years ago. And the government, and excuse my French, really pissed us off over there. They really made us cranky. I'm talking about every player of the poker machine registering and having a card to play. And we said, well, we think that that's ridiculous, unfair, un-Australian, we love that word. How would you translate that to New Zealand? I'm trying to work that out. New Zealand? It really, really resonated with our people. And this is what you can do if you start to talk to your members about issues. You can actually activate them. And you can see there the people, they're not club CEOs, they're not anyone other than a whole bunch of clubbies. These are members. Look at them. It's cold. Not as cold as it gets over here, but It's cold. And you can see the messages that obviously we had a big part in developing. And on there's a TV cruise, this was covered nationally. It's not every day that you get 500 style clubbies with signs, and you know how vicious the bingo brigade can be, or the bowlers. You know how bad that can get. Well, you put 500 in a little park in Braidwood, and on the other side of those cameras, there was three local MPs. Three local MPs. And I could see the fear in their eyes, because they don't often get to see a crowd like that. Oh, he's love, nice crowd, come on in. Vote one Anthony Ball, we love you. Yeah, we're going to vote for you, no problem. Yeah, that's easy. I love that. I hate seeing people who they want to vote for them yelling. Now, this is not what you're going to do every day, but you've got to create the infrastructure to allow that. And they need to understand, the guys that you're voting for, that if they do something that is going to really rankle your members, then you can do this. This takes time. As I said, it took us 5 years to get to the stage where we could mobilise this kind of grassroots activity. And that's got to be a part of the strategy as well. So, you've got to support your association here. You've got to look at this strategically and as a business issue. You have a relationship with a brewer. That's terrific. You have a relationship with your members and your customers. Fantastic. Have a relationship with your MP. Hug them. Hug them. Be nice to them. Don't be too nice, because they need to know that there's a bit of steel there, okay? They need to know that you can snap. But you need to educate. They need to better understand. And once that relationship gets better, then your life will become much easier. We'll never be completely clear of it, okay? Because as I said at the outset, gambling, alcohol, cigarette smoking, it's combustible. Things can change quickly there. But you immunise yourself to an extent if your local MP likes you. So get busy, go and vote. Encourage other people to vote. In Australia, you have to vote. You get fined if you don't. I think that's a good idea, actually, but Australia's only one of, I think, 14 countries in the world that does that. And remember, you get the government that you deserve. So, get out there, vote for whoever you support, and get busy at the club level. Thank you for being such an attentive audience. It's a great crowd, a great room here. I'm going to go up and have a look at your club, Pango. I'm sure it's fantastic before I go out. I've got to go back to Sydney to Savo, so I missed a lot of it, but it is a terrific program. Thank you, Larry and Tom, and I'll see you next year. Thanks, everybody.